Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, our dear viewers all over the world. This is Euro from Uganda. And I, the presenter, Moses Mugisha, right here in Oslo. Today we come to you with a guest, Mr. Charles Wasswa. He's a Ugandan who has lived in Finland for a period of about 10 years. He acquired some good education, a master's degree in information technology, and had quite a good job as a chief engineer in certain company dealing in technology. And he also had permanent residence in Finland. But amidst all that, he chose to travel back home in Uganda. And at the moment, he's the proprietor of BD Applied ICT company that deals in designing software. So of course, anyone would come curious on why someone chooses to live such a privilege, such a luxurious life, so someone would put it, and goes back home to a third world country. I'll quote a certain gentleman. He's a Ugandan living in Sweden. He once described Scandinavian countries as paradise on earth or heaven on earth. I put it in quotes because that's his opinion. And of course, this also becomes a sport of curiosity. Why would someone, if we are to take it for his opinion that Scandinavian is as really good as paradise on earth, why someone would choose to live paradise on earth and then go back to a third world country like Uganda? This we shall discuss. We shall hear more from Mr. Charles Wasswa. And I wish to ask Mr. Charles Wasswa to say hi to you, our viewers.
Yes, thank you very much, Moses, for hosting me. I'm so happy to be here. So, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, our viewers and listeners. Yes, my name has already been mentioned. I'm Charles Wasswa. So, a good day is also mine. I'm an engineer, actually a postgraduate engineer, and right now I live in Uganda, and I opened a company called the Billy Applied ICT Center. As we will go on, we will know why we call it Applied ICT Center. It was my dream anyway, so most of the origins of that probably we will be able to discuss in this program. So thank you very much.
Yes, Mlongo Charles. Different people have different reasons. They travel abroad. There are so many, as we all know. What was your primary reason you chose to leave Uganda?
The reasons I chose to leave Uganda. Yes, anyway, my movement to Finland was influenced by the desire to learn more and also acknowledging the limitations we have in the country. Technology changed, and for me, it has been so that I changed with technology. So when changes in technology came, I needed actually, at one point I was working in a solar company dealing in solar systems. I needed to learn how to build the systems based on computer, what we call computer-based systems. So, and the best place to learn that, I learned was in Europe, though I didn't know where exactly. And I remember in Uganda, Sweden is more popular, at least then, in 2006, 2007. So I opted to go to Sweden to study a course in computer engineering. But then I had my brother, Jeff, who lives in Denmark, helped me saying that, by the way, Finland is better because there it is easy to get jobs, some cleaning jobs, so you can meet the cost of living. So I switched to Finland because I thought that there will be job opportunities so I can study while working. So that's how I had to come to Finland. The bottom line was to come to get knowledge. So I came to Finland to get knowledge.
Yes, so the way you sound, it was more like chasing a dream. You are
Yeah.
yearning.
Yes, so actually that is so because in my dream, since my childhood, I want to be an engineer. But I never wanted just to have a name, a title. I wanted to be a real, practical, something can make things happen. So every time I found myself missing knowledge, I always went and learned. So my dream of becoming an engineer and a practical one, when I came to Finland, actually my dream was satisfied. I was able to study the course of my dream, which was computer engineering. And also later on, I added on a master's degree in computer science and engineering. And they already, academically, I was competent. Professionally, I was competent. By the way, allow me to mention that during my master's, I was also offered to do a PhD, which I turned down. So, because at that time,
So
I had no need to do a PhD because the technology has not changed. I thought that I had not used all I had learned already. So I turned down. I remember my colleague, Dr. JP, saying, "You must gotta do it." I say, "Man, I have no reason to do it because I'm not. I want to
on
learn
the
in mind."
contrary, I thought the higher the education, the better placed one is.
Yeah.
Didn't you consider that?
Again, see, for me, as I said, my dream was to make things happen. So sometimes when you are given a PhD and it's not your topic, you are given what to study, what to research on. For me, I want to research on my own. Remember, my dream was get knowledge, return home. So at that time, I had already gained what I thought was enough, and I was ready. In my mind, I was planning how can I return home. So giving me a PhD was to retain me there. Later on, I don't know if we will ever find time. We will discuss on what they call brain drain and how the European or the West retain the brains. But little to say about that, they give you many opportunities that you would stay. Some of the deals they give you may not benefit your society, may be benefiting you as a person. So when you get time, some other time, please make sure you get that. We should discuss that. So for me, I didn't see it as necessary to do a PhD because I was in my dream. I don't see myself looking for a job. I see myself as creating.
So
So
in other words, your master's degree in technology, in information technology, to you was enough to realize your dream. In as much
yes,
a PhD would be an added advantage, but you felt well placed enough to realize your dream even without a PhD.
that's true because during my master's degree, I had learned how to learn. And if you ask me what I know about PhD, most of the time you are learning on your own. Since I had learned how to learn, I knew that now I want to research on topics that will help my community. And you see, you would ask why would you go home, but when you, for me, what I felt, my values were different. I always wanted to work in a place where I'm respected and a place where I have an impact and to work on something you love. So if you work is fun, for me, technology has always been that is fun for me. So getting money is like a bonus. So at that time, I remember I was researching on LED lights. So I wanted to go home. This is an addition to what I had already planned and build. I wanted to build a factory where we can start manufacturing lights. So giving me a PhD, I thought it was a process of brain draining me. So I said I didn't need it at that particular time. Maybe in the future, when I find out I need more knowledge, I'll go for it. So
You sound a typical nationalist, a typical patriotist. That you really feel you wouldn't love to satisfy your personal desires at the expense of your society, at the expense of your country, so that you felt that giving me a PhD would be more of tying me here, and then yet my dream on my master plan, it is going to Finland, acquire knowledge, come back home, use it, impact communities, and then the country at large.
yeah, that is very close, but again, it depends on your values. Some people they want money, others we enjoy what to do. I must enjoy what I'm doing. Some people they can actually work no matter what job and what situation as long as they get paid. For me, I want to work in a place where I'm loved. I'm adding on something. I'm creating something. I'm creating value to the people, the community I like. I had challenges in Finland and some areas whereby actually the mindset of the West or the white, unfortunately, we Africans, we are brainwashed. We think that all whites are bright, they are kind, they are clever. Yet for them, the whites are told them, for them they are brought up thinking they are bright, they can do anything what they want. So, but also they are told that blacks are dense. They are not that bright. They are not equal. We are not equal. We have seen this debate all over. So when I was working with my colleagues, they are very good friends, but I would see that in them that when you are a black, no matter how much you work, some of them actually see you that you are not good enough. Despite the fact you could show results. I always had this thing in meetings, as in some discussion we had. I visited a company where a manager had to make a presentation, but he insisted he makes the presentation in Finnish. Then for me, I didn't understand the Finnish, so I insisted he should make in English. So he stood and said, "You guy, you are a very old man. I have a daughter who is 5 years old. He speaks Finnish very well. How can an old man like you can speak Finnish?" I remember standing up and asking him that, okay, I also have a son, 3 years old. He speaks Swahili very well. So how much Swahili can you speak? So the guy
That was
felt
such
embarrassed.
a very intelligent retaliation.
Because he makes you feel, plus we always feel that we should learn the other one, and then for them they can walk away with it. So at a point, some of those feelings, I didn't blame them because that's how we are brought up, and I wanted to work in a place where you are respected. You are respected, and the impact is felt. You are loved. So working back at home, you are competent in engineering. You have been exposed. I thought I am able to see many opportunities at home. Some of the reason why I had to return, and I felt I should return home for that matter because I don't want to be on the lowest edge of the lowest part of the ladder. I want to own the ladder. I want to be on top, not just to be
In
at
your
the
words,
lowest.
there echoes passion and sticking to that dream. Because there was passion in what you were doing, that it was not just about money, but passion. And then the aspect of sticking to that dream, because the dream was, I'm going there to pick up this, apply it here. These deviations and then the sugar-coated stuff along the way were not such a big deal. That's very lovely. Yeah. And
That's
then
true.
about the expectations, because naturally, when we're venturing into the unknown, there is always a pile of expectations. How was your case?
Uh-huh. Oh, actually, I almost mentioned that. You see, when we are here, especially Africans and Asians, we are made to believe that Europe, it is as you statement in your opening remarks, that the paradise on earth. So
Gentleman made it clear that
yes,
Sky is like paradise on earth. Guru lya kunsi.
Yeah, that's true, but it depends. That's what I had. I had in mind, maybe this is the paradise. I'm gonna see very kind, very lovely people, but the expectations were not fully uh, satisfied, fully serviced, because when I came, I didn't see. I thought the whites are very bright,
Mm-hmm.
they are very rich. But I happened to meet some whites who were begging. I remember I had visited my colleague in Tampere. This white man was coming begging, a euro, a euro. I remember talking in Uganda, well, omuzungu tasaba.
Omuzungu tasaba.
Why? So
Nakula manyi
I think
omuzungu
some of the
tasaba.
omuzungu tasaba is expected is supposed to give. Then because tube tumanya abazungu baba bagagga baba alina kumpa ninsanga ngaasaba katempemu ebyakyukamu bono nti nali ndowooza si kye nasanga tunulwa abazungu basaba nekyana ninsuubira when I came to school it was fascinating to study in a class with whites very well. Then I expected them that they are going to be so bright. I reached actually they are not different. They are not different with us. Actually, what the only difference, to my understanding, is the color. But if we are all put in the same place, the same facilities, we are equal. So that started changing in my perception, and I started appreciating who I am and appreciating home. I learned that actually the difference is what resources you have, and the teachers maybe as far as school is concerned. In fact, I used to study and I beat them in the electronics. I could be the first in electronics. Then I beat them in math. Because in Africa, okay, to mention in Uganda, plus we already have a background. You do A level, but then when you come to Europe, I think in Finland, they stop at O level. So I could do all that math. So expectation that these guys must be bright, I didn't see it. Then the kindness, some of the things it came to learn that actually some of the President Museveni always argued that you whites don't give us your donations, open the opportunities so that we can compete. They don't agree. Then later I learned that actually this one helps the West to brainwash us. When they send him money, we get an imagination.
That teach me how to fish and do not give me the fish concept.
No, they didn't work. They give you fish, plus they give us fish. They don't teach us how to fish.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that one, because of that donation, we started thinking that they are so kind, they give. When I reached here, when I reached in Finland, some of those things, I realized actually we are almost the same. Of course, there are some differences, whereby some of the difference expectation, I thought we are the same. Like when we are raising our children, I realized that this one, for them, they emphasize self-reliance and self-esteem. In fact, in Finland, if I'm not actually be right, that actually it is illegal to teach to indoctrinate children, which actually religion is part of it, before they are 10 years. And in a comparison, that's one of the things that takes away self-esteem. So the Finns, a kid grows with self-esteem. He knows if he works hard, he will earn. So some of these differences, they are fascinating. I saw things very different, and they're enjoying.
So that was something positive you felt we lacked home.
Yes, that's very positive. And for me, my children, I always emphasize I don't indoctrinate them when they are young. I wait for them to choose when they grow. Some of the things I don't enforce my beliefs on them. I show them things as a parent I think they're good for them, but some of these other things I have learned from Finland, because when I went there, I had, of course, I suffered the so-called culture shock, some of the differences, but I was keen to note the differences. All the good things they have, I noted down, so I picked them. Then I looked at the bad things they have, I left them out. Like when I was in Finland first time, I thought everybody smokes. Everybody's smoking. We don't do that smoking at home. So that one I never copied, and I never liked people to learn smoking. But this is self-esteem and openness. You don't have to lie. That is
Mm-hmm.
habit, not, and then the being punctual. I like it and I
So
pick
it's
it.
you either have to say it is either black or white, but not gray. So it is either
Then yeah,
but not the gray. So being clear.
yeah, it had to be. But also somewhere you mentioned the having that me, I had a set goal, and then you are right, but that one helps. You see, when you come to any foreign country, in my opinion, my understanding, my experience, if you know, if you have the purpose, you need to decide early enough that, okay, am I going to stay in Europe? Am I going to stay in the diaspora? Or I'm going to return home? If when you do it early enough, your choices, by the way, change and you support your decisions. Because for me, I already knew that I will return home. So even when I'm at school, I was choosing some of those courses, the knowledge that actually is not uh, what I wanted to get home, what we call transferable skills. I studied those things that I can transfer back home. There are some courses I've seen my colleagues study, but they're only applicable to Europe, so you
Mm.
can't take them home. So the early you decide, that is very important because you will choose the options that will facilitate your or will support your
Yes, yes,
choices.
but Charles,
Yes.
yeah, picking up from that, there are quite a number of cases of people that have come to Europe on academic grounds, and
Mm.
probably also a plan, like you mentioned, that you must decide early, because there is a question of how early, because they came with a plan, but ended up editing plans and switching goalposts, drifting away from that plan. So, in your case, what helped you stand the tide? Because you're coming to a new environment where things are almost way totally different, of course, in positivity as compared to what you're used to. So, what helped you stand this tide, keeping track of your master plan despite the changes? Because as much as I know you had permanent residence in Finland, and in addition to that, you had a very good job, I should say. Being a chief engineer in a company is such a good job.
Mm.
So amidst all these seemingly comforting environments around you, what made you stick to your plan?
Yeah. Okay. One of them is a passion. Another one, let me answer this one that when you say this is a paradise, I always say, I read somewhere when you are comparing satisfaction.
Mhm.
I must say that I wasn't satisfied when I was in Europe. Remember that your satisfaction today depends on how satisfied you have been yesterday. Example is that, okay, if you have two employees, one has been getting maybe 30 million Uganda shillings, 30 million, and then you give that person a bonus of 50,000. How satisfied would that do you think that person would be?
Mm.
Maybe very little. What about the other one who has been a maid? He's getting just 50,000 Uganda shillings. When you give that person 50,000 extra, this person will jump. So he will feel satisfied because he has been getting little. When I left Uganda, I was already working and I was earning. So I was able to meet many of my needs.
Mm.
What I was searching for, I was missing, was the knowledge because there are some things I wanted to do. I remember they brought inverters that were computer controlled. I couldn't repair them, and we are giving it out. Certain guy who would spend an hour, then he just changes some things, and then he gets 800,000. I want to get that money, so I had a push.
You
So
somehow felt cheated.
yeah, I said it, but oh, what has this guy done? Then I wanted to learn. I knew that once I learn more, I'm able to work like this. I will be in a better life. So when I came, my what helped me to stick on my plan was some of the things I left home. Unfortunately, some people when they come to Europe, they have other challenges. Some of them they are running away for their lives. They have to save. Some people actually they come for asylum. Their lives and their families are in danger. For me, it wasn't. So I left home, particularly to come to study. So it was easy. At home was not bad. I mean, I could go back home. Some people can't go back home. So learning, when I came, because I had a purpose, I concentrated on that quantity of knowledge I missed, or that type of knowledge I missed. Because I was following my direction, the technical field, everything I saw, I encountered, my mind was back at home, that what if when I return home, I can build these things. Another thing also that kept me going, that when I was other chief engineer in the company, Witwafe, we were dealing with the smart city systems. Now cities, how can you make an environment in the city communicate with you? Some of these services, I learned that actually, as they say, that what is good for the hen is good for the cock too. I learned that if these words, for them, they're able to enjoy these services, what about us home? So me, I was seeing the opportunity. So you're exposed to most of these things, you see them. For me, my mind was saying, can you build these things at home? Can you build this? So I was making research to get ready. So I hope I'm answering you correctly, but the trends, the journey, always whatever milestones I came across, they were already at the block. We are blocks building on my dream. So I thought that I had a sack of like stones. I put in the sack. I put in the sack every stage. I put in the sack. So I had my sack full, and I said, if I go home, I can use this already. This is what I try to encourage others, that if you are abroad, like we cannot complain that our country is underdeveloped, and then you talk about brain drain, because brain drain, these guys in the West, they will take all the brains. So, and then for you, you are there, you are taken, and you leave your country where actually we have the most resources, but you see, nga bakugamba nti embwa ewalungi tewaba wawo, embwa tesula mu katale nokubadde akatale kako kalungi, embwa yandiyagadde esula omwo naye tesulamu, embwa erina okudda ewaayo. If I'm living in Sweden, the place is very good.
I really love those phrases. You've really put it in a very good perspective.
Yeah, because the place,
someone's level of satisfaction depends on how someone has been satisfied before. What's good for the hen is also good for
the cock too. Yeah, because what is good for the song is good for us too.
Yes, those words are actually, in a way, they are challenging, but also inspiring. Yeah, because trust me, you should have had so many cases of people that have failed to make these decisions. Yes, like you put it, that you came with a plan, and maybe some others have different cases in Europe, but in that category of people that come with a plan. So the idea of sticking to the plan, I think anyone watching you here would really be so curious. I mean, to know. Remember, you had permanent residence. That is very important to note. And not all students that come for study purposes have, the chance to get residence in those countries. So some probably survive on student visas for quite some time, but you had permanent residence, implying you had a chance to stay. And secondly, you had a very good job, and you sound like you are this open-minded person. But still, in personal, I would still go deep to find out what could have been the spark. I mean, there was humanly drift from us, depending on the environment around us. But what was that spark that ignited this move to say, okay, now there have been a lot of challenges, there have been a lot of things that drag me off the plan, but now I have to go. Probably they should have been that week, that day, that moment. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I must tell you this, that many people, they want to return, but to gather the strength to return is quite difficult. Yeah, for me, I remember I had that what I want to return. I want to return, but most time the worry is that okay, I need first. Okay, actually, even the pressure at home when you return. At home, they expect you to be rich already. Why do you leave the paradise? That's people also think the same. So you fear to return because you haven't done much at home. Hmm? And they expect you to have a bungalow, a big house, a big car, so that you can return. So people fear that. I understand.
Mm.
Because I had that in mind, I remember there was one of my OGs. She was studying at Metropolis. She was a Kenyan. She's a Kenyan. So she returned to Kenya after she graduated with a Bachelor of Engineering in Information Technology. For her, she returned to Kenya. I remember at one point because she's my friend on Facebook, I read her blog. She was narrating how tough it was to return home. A lot of hardship, but for me, what caught my eye was the conclusion that after 3 years, she finally settled. Now she was reaping big. She was enjoying home. So after reading that, I remember I wrote to her saying, "You friend of mine, you have done it great. You don't know how much you have helped me to gather strength so that I can return. So you don't need to take anything at home." So that article she wrote was
Mm.
a spark, much as I had a plan, but to conclude that see now this must be. So when I said this must be, I said okay. I remember I was working on a certain project, and I was a designer. I was designing the hardware for the project. We were making sensors to track a parking in the city. So because I had decided subconsciously, my choices started to change. So I remember telling my boss that okay, he was asking because he used to challenge me that you guy you stay. I was telling him I want to return home and open a company. He said, but you guy, Europe is better. You guy, you run away from your country. I said I have to go back. So I started transferring some of my roles to external suppliers or subcontractors. So I trained somebody else to be in my what? In my position because I had already decided. I said, you know what? This must go. So that the starting point was that actually the end, the spark, the trigger.
Mm.
Reading that article, this young girl had returned, and after struggling for 3 years, she had settled, and she now using the knowledge she had gained from Finland. She, she was now free. So for me, I decided I must go. But remember, I had learned another thing that I had trouble with. I was creating knowledge, but I was creating knowledge to the country that was already rich. Then my mind was, come on, how long will we develop other countries when ours is underdeveloped? That also was in my mind.
I
Remember,
love that.
I also taught at the university. I was at one point when I was doing my bachelor, I was a teaching assistant.
Mm.
Yeah, I was a teaching assistant. So I was chosen
Mm.
to teach. So I was helping students to do practicals. Imagine I was doing practicals because as I told my colleague that whatever you do, make sure that you do it very well. Learn something, no matter what it is, even if it is making chapati, making what, you must make sure that you learn it very well and master it and then execute it very well.
Mm.
Success will come. So even me, when I reached there, I learned that actually you need two things to succeed. One, or to get a job, connections. You need a technical know-how and a technical know-how. I knew in Finland I didn't know anyone, so I concentrated on improving my technical know-how. I made sure that when I go cleaning, we call sweeping, I sweep not so much. I only sweep to survive. Some people they keep sweeping 14
Cleaning to
hours,
survive.
and then yeah, for me I
Mm.
used to clean to survive. And I remember in my second year, I got a job at school. I dumped sweeping because I wanted that extra time to self-development. So I started
So,
learning programming.
in other words, the way you sound, in as much as you had bachelor's, you had attained a master's, and you also had a dream of going back home and you have this self-esteem. But swimming, or rather sweeping, cleaning was never viewed as that a job, because you needed to do it for survival, but
Definitely.
conditionally for a timeline.
Exactly. There, you guys, I should be with you all the time. That is the point. That cleaning, I don't say it's bad. It's bad. You see, but I don't want somebody to stay there. That's the lowest job on the corporate ladder. Why should you? Why should you be the lowest? I never wanted to be. When I go cleaning, especially in these restaurants on Saturday morning, I never wanted to do that. So, but because I was a student, I want. Yeah, you do it. I did it. I don't say you should
Yeah,
buy. You
but by
do
the
it.
way,
Survive.
on that aspect,
Mm.
even here in Norway, Norwegian children do clean as summer jobs. Yes, so
Yes.
this I've seen. So in other words, I think it's not about the type of job, but it's
No.
about mindset, what you need from
Yes.
it, and then the time.
Exactly. So
Mm.
again, my take on that, my advice would be that okay, let us clean at the start, as we look for better things. Okay, if you find yourself you have stayed in cleaning, then make it big, make it very good, make it bigger. You have your own company. Then you're able to employ these other students who are just coming in. This is my opinion. Me, I feel that everybody must be on top. So you shouldn't. Some of the things that because you asked me for you what it triggers. Because I had attained technical know-how, I felt that I can
Yes,
work
actually,
anywhere.
why I really picked so much interest in the trigger is that the planning, we all plan, and there are
Yes,
on so many occasions that we've all drifted away from the plans. And then there
yes,
is this aspect of coming to Europe, and then there is
yes,
this new environment. Then you have a good
yes,
job, you've attained a
yes,
master's, and even doors are more open. That there is also room for PhD. So you've attained this favor, and then the network, the confidence in the society, but you still believe I must stick to my plan, because there was no such apart from your plans, and then you feeling that I must be someone of influence in my homeland. So apart from that, I mean, someone would really pick a lot of interest in knowing exactly what is so special about this guy. Because honestly, if I were in your shoes, I mean, I would tell you that I would just take it as you say it. I mean, there is this something special that someone would really love to learn from you or get inspired in a special way. So actually, that's why I'm putting so much focus about that.
yeah, yes. You know, my side, I look at that was easy to
Mm.
switch or to return because when I was learning, I learned those things that are difficult to everybody. Also, this one depends on how I was brought up. When I was young, my father always told us that you guys, when we complained about physics and math, he told us, you guys study those things that are hard. Those things are hard for everybody. But the benefit will be later on when you get out to the field, you will be fewer people who are good at these things. So the opportunity will be open. There are so many. For me, I was able to work without knowing the language. Very few people in Finland are able to work without knowing the Finnish language. But because I picked some of those areas that were high tech, they required time. As I told you, when I was in school, I could only sleep for a few hours and I spent more time learning. So I learned some of these hard things. By then, computer engineering required learning microprocessors. What it was a little bit difficult, but it was paying. Let alone when I got out, I was able to work easily, and I also work without the language. So I never learned how to talk, to speak Finnish. But the main point here is that because I had technology, I learned a skill. I learned a profession that is demanded everywhere. I didn't fear to return. I knew no matter where I would fall, the knowledge I have gained, the skills I had acquired were transferable. So for me, I
Okay,
knew
so actually,
everything.
Now you
Everywhere
introduce a very interesting concept,
yes,
transferable skills, because
yes,
you've attained skills that are
yes,
transferable, demanded
yes,
everywhere, and then you have attained them to a level that you've set a competitive advantage over
yes,
your other competitors in the our job market. So, and
exactly.
that gives you courage to move back with no fears of there are no jobs in Uganda, the system is so twisted up, and then you're not so certain. There are a lot of uncertainties about systems, taxation, corruption, things like that. So, this alone gives you this ground to stick to your plan.
Yes. Also, remember, I my when I return when I look at the back, as I said, the earlier you set your mind, the better. Because I said I'll return, then I started worrying about okay, when I return, where do I start? So I
Mm.
had other challenges. I needed to learn more technology, but also the motivation to do the master's degree was also that okay, if I return home and I can't start very fast, but with the master's degree in
Mm.
engineering and also some work experience, then because actually that is what is needed in Finland to teach. If you have a master's degree and there's at least 3 years of experience,
Also, may just chip in a bit.
mm,
What were your primary fears? Because what I want to imagine that this wasn't a 1 week's decision, a 1 month's decision. There could have been a chain of fears going back home
uh-huh.
because they had a lot of cases of people who have gone back and probably bounced back, gone back and went back to zero, and those cases we've all had. So, what were your primary fears?
Uh-huh, exactly. That's the main point. The fears return home. We are a number of them. One of them,
Mm.
security. When we are in Europe, we watch too much YouTube. And then we see all those things on Gatari Kung Fu. Somebody is killing the other. This one is stealing this is stealing that. So I fear that okay, when I return home, these guys are gonna break my house and steal the little I have. I fear that when I'm moving on the streets, some people will grab me back, will steal from me. I remember I went to the shop when I was planning to return home. I bought this so-called the Swedish knife. I had a Bennett on my what on my trouser here. I put in my Bennett because of that. I fear that okay, maybe some of these guys are gonna come, the so-called chief place.
The Luganda proverb, "Njokwerinda si buti."
Exactly. So I bought that thing. And remember my brother saying, you guys, what's that knife for? They may use it to have it. I said, you guys, these guys are thieves. He said, not thieves. You see, there the trick is you need to move on the main roads. You don't take a panyas at night. Move in a normal time. If you move by 10, you are arrived at home, you are safe. I now with about 3 years, I have never had anyone trying to steal from me. So that was security fear. Another one, I fear that damn malaria. Malaria might catch me. I've been in Europe, not getting sick. In Finland, roads are cleaned daily, so no, don't get sick. So I fear that okay, in Uganda there is malaria. So what about if I return, I may catch malaria and I get sick. But remember, because all those fears I actually had put them on a list, on my list. While I was still in Finland, actually, I was looking for solutions. Remember the other one I bought a Bennett? Okay, I said, okay, I'm safer. Somebody tried to grab me, I will pierce this person. Malaria, I researched more about malaria. I learned that actually, if you use lemon, warm water, ginger, and the honey, if you can use those things
By
daily.
then, by then, was your family in Finland or in Uganda?
My family was in Finland. My family is Finland, but
Really?
we
Human.
are torn apart. Yeah, this is the thing that
So your family
sometimes
is in,
you may
still
in
in this.
Finland for me want to return, and the idea was I would be coming, visit them, then okay they would be coming. Actually, in fact, at the first I had an unrealistic plan. I thought you can stay in Uganda 4 months and then you come to Finland 2 months. Then that thing doesn't work. No one can
Actually
does.
fantasy.
Yeah, it can't work because you have a
All
lot
of
of
such
work you have a lot of work in Uganda, and in Finland, where can you get a job where they can leave you to go away for 4 months? If you are very useful employee, for
So,
me, I
in as
remember.
much as I understand you, you left
Mm,
Finland and
mm.
surrendered your residence in Finland.
No, I still have my residence.
You still have
I
your
can,
residence.
yeah, because I can come anytime I want.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
because I
but
have.
primarily you live in Uganda and Finland is just for a visit.
Yeah, this is what I wanted. You guys, you should go to go visit Norway, go visit America. It should be
Mm,
like that. But you have your business in Uganda. Uganda is still
mm,
fertile for many opportunities. If actually all these guys who are competent, the other issue of brain, it means they take the
mm,
bright and then they leave. When you go there, when you acquire enough knowledge, you are competent. Opportunities are here. You come here, make money, then go visit US, go visit Sweden.
Because Charles, just the way you put it, that the Uganda on YouTube was way different
Yes.
from the Uganda you found physically. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah,
In Uganda, YouTube.
just to digress a bit.
Mm,
There is a popular belief that
mm,
many of our professionals from Uganda
mm,
have run away to better paying countries, have run away to countries that are respect their
mm,
professions and probably give them those incentives and payments and allowances that fit their weights as professionals. But here comes Charles, and his case is trying to go anti-clockwise. I mean, you're going against the
mm.
norm, because the norm is that Uganda is known as a well-paying country for a professional, like you probably who has a master's. And
Mm.
those, many of those that study in Europe and choose to go back, in most cases, they still have students' visas, work permits. But the permit, actually permanent residence, very good paying job, and you choose to go against the norm. As people are running away from Uganda to go to better paying countries, you're running back to Uganda. What's this mystery? I mean, don't you feel this, in so much independent-minded man that you be the only exception one, eh?
Yeah. In fact, I was following those norms. That's what I thought.
Mm,
You see,
mm,
I didn't mention that my analysis actually depends on my exposure, the experience,
mm,
and what I know. So this is how I analyze my things. When I was there, I had the same thinking, but I started being very observant. One point I was telling you some of the two important subjects, the
mm,
chemistry and the fine art. Chemistry allows you to make observations, very small change, then you're able to see. This skill retains with us. So one time I was in Finland, then I saw, I was with my colleagues, remember Peter Kalanzi, Joseph, we were trying to create some systems.
mm,
So as we were trying to create something, we were making research, we realized, damn, somebody has built it in Kenya. We checked. He was a Norwegian. Really? Wait a minute. How can a Norwegian leave their country and then go and build these systems in Africa? There is
mm.
something here we are missing. So I believe that it's not necessarily true that Uganda, Africa has no opportunities, but maybe our mindset. If Africa, Uganda was bad, it has no opportunities, then why do we have whites? Most of the top-notch jobs, if you look at the project manager, engineers, doctors, some of the high-end are actually whites. Why? The best accountants, when you see these big corporations, why? Here in Uganda, MTN head is a white. Why? If there are no jobs, it could be that actually competence and our mindset. So when I saw white
Is it
in Africa,
is it because there are two things here.
mm,
There is competency,
mm,
and then the trust
mm-hmm,
of our professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 'cause, I've worked with Indians in Uganda, and this is what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
There is a confusion between competence and trust of the competent. Yeah, because like in some companies, I mean, they are
Mm.
whites, not because that Uganda has no competent employees in that category, but probably
Mm.
the recruiting authority does not trust the Ugandan to fit in that.
Mm.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, so for me, okay, when you come to Europe,
Mm,
you will learn their way of life and how they work. That means you work like them. Maybe
mm,
before you came to Europe, you are not competent. But now here I was. I've worked in Europe, I've studied in Europe, so I have now some of their bits, the attributes they
mm,
have. So the other trust, competence is no longer valid because I am. So when we come to Europe, then those
mm.
others who are running away, when they go to the diaspora, when they train, now they have gained the competence. You see, trust is not demanded, it is earned. You earn it
It's
first through
mm,
what you do. So when you return, actually, it reminded me of
mm,
here when the company
mm,
where I am, I receive some subcontracts from different
mm,
companies. I do system for them. But I see some of these challenges because many of them actually, without even looking at me, they say, "You guys must have been to Europe," because there are some things I no longer do. I cannot help them to cheat the government. I can't help them
mm,
to. I don't issue
mm,
some of these to be
mm,
a things because
mm.
now I have gained some of the attributes the whites have got. So it means
I
they can
actually,
compete
I actually,
globally.
Charles, love that so much because
Mm,
on Euroforum, we hold a value that we may not have the capacity to change
mm,
a society at once, a country at
mm,
once. But we
mm,
believe the few basic applicable, transferable ideas, like you put
mm,
it,
mm,
can be used to impact the people around you, can be used to impact starting with your family, starting with your workmates, your employees, or even your employer, if you have a chance.
yes,
So I just love that there is a lot we may not copy and paste or transfer from Europe back home, but there, again, there is also a
mm,
lot that is basically transferable. So I just
yes.
love that you hold a ground to be echoed as
Yes,
you've been. I think you've been in Europe. I mean, it should be more read than told. Mm-hmm.
exactly. Yeah,
Mm,
that's the point. That much as we say, okay, our country is bad, our
mm,
country, you must ask yourself, what have you done? You need to start yourself. People around you. For me here, our place of work, I've already set some values we hold. We don't build projects for students because we are growing incompetent engineers. That's now we can't participate in building incompetent engineers. So for us, when students come here, when they want to learn or when they are buying some of the products, we say we have a table outside here where we tell them go there, sit, we can help you learn. They
mm,
prefer paying. We said no. Now there we are trying to change the society. So our
mm.
contribution, they may not be very big, but with time it will grow. We don't
Yes,
allow government
yes,
officials
Mr.
to steal.
Charles.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
we shall take a break and come back in part two. This will be mostly our sports of focus. I have you out
Yes.
there would really love to know
Mm,
how Charles Wasswa integrates back in Uganda because the period
mm,
of 10 years, such a long period. Yes, you're Ugandan, but 10 years down the road, a lot has changed. So would love to really dig deep into how you integrated back in Uganda. The smile on your face tells a lot. I may not really ask you or check even your bank accounts, but I can easily tell that you're not complaining. So have you out there would really love to know how you integrated back to Uganda? Your company, PD Applied ICT, has a slogan which I find very interesting: developing, exposing, and exploiting the ICT in you. I don't know if I also have some ICT in me, but I would really love to know what you mean in that slogan. Still, someone would really love to know because there is a popular saying:
yes.
that our education system has groomed more theory-based professionals than practical-based students. And still, it is commonly said that Africa has groomed more consumers than producers. But here you are saying that you design software systems. From which level are your designs and to what level? What's the scope of that design? Are you really people that we shall live to emulate, that you have chosen to change Uganda from what you've learned, that have sacrificed this luxurious life in the diaspora, particularly Scandinavian, and chosen to go back home? Someone would really love to know that. And of course, there may be a couple of questions, and we request our viewers to drop comments, to drop questions, to drop additions, in case there is such a concern. We come back to you in part 2 with Mr. Charles Wasswa. For those who have just joined us, he lived in Finland for 10 years, acquired some education, a master's degree, and he was working as a chief engineer for a certain company in Finland. He chose to go back home. And according to him, it was a master plan that I will go, acquire some education, go back home, and have an impact in our motherland. And is now established back home in Uganda and is the proprietor of BD Applied ICT Company. We take a break for now. Thank you, Mr. Wasswa Charles. Thank you, our viewers. This is Euroforum.
Thank you very much, Moses.